Happy Black Friday. I'm Nick Talkert with the Historical Fencing Guild, and we'll be getting into discussion as things go on. But first, I have to pay some bills. The Historical Fencing Guild is made possible, at least these broadcasts, with the support of the Independent Creator Directory. That's IndieCD.org, your one-stop shop for the best and the brightest authors, artists, musicians, and other creatives. If you want to shop small this season, it's a great place to start. If you are looking for more colorful content outside of what's fed to you by the big machines out there, I'd consider going. And if you're looking for a place to be hosted as a creative, right now the sign-on is only $30 for a lifetime subscription, and if you use code podcast1, it will be dropped to $15. This is a deal that will be going out the window very quickly, so please get it. We are also made possible by the sales of The Simple Sword, The Fighting Axe, and The Simple Spear, all part of my ongoing series of Western martial arts manuals designed to help you go from having never handled a sword to teaching the art to others. My games and other books, as well as, of course, the wonderful people of my Patreon, who will be listed at the bottom. As soon as it's scrolling across, I will gleefully read you their names, because without them, this could not be possible. And as I am doing this, I want you to consider liking and sharing this. We're trying to get information out, build people up, help people learn the arts that we love as cheaply and as inexpensively and as simply as possible. So we want to thank Off in the Woods, Frog G, Ronald Rain, Bladed Thesis, Brian K. Morris, Cindy Kep, Steve Augusto, Don Dulas, Angelina Vaquera, Link, who I will be doing all sorts of stuff for soon. Hopefully, if I am a little flustered, it is because I had a doctor's visit that required some physical testing of me, and it has caused no small amount of pain. I will persevere, but I may sound just a little sharp, and I will see how long I can actually hold out sitting and doing this stream whilst dealing with the excess pain. Hopefully the meds will kick in before I have to kick off this stream. Before I get into anything I have after all this, I want to go through the chat, see who's here, what you guys are talking about, what's on your mind, before I bring up whatever topics I have on mine. All righty, let's go all the way up. Evening, folks. Good evening, Foxy. I hope you're having a lovely evening. I hope you're feeling better. We're having a rough time this morning. And the lovely Sarah. Sarah, it is so good to hear from you on the chat and everywhere else. A quick message. You may be getting a message from Mr. Witzman about some tech support. How's it going? It's going. I got one of my accountabilities done, almost done. You? Being chewed on, the joys of puppies. And Thesis is greeting the ladies. And Sarah is he's dressed. Hey, brother. And what's Utah weather typically like this time of year? Mild, cold, and windy here. In our town, Foxy continues, it's almost always windy. Okay. So you should be called the Windy City instead of Chicago. 25 feels like 22. Not terrible right now. Yeah, that kind of temperature and wind bites to the bone. Absolutely. LOL, we should nearly all the time. It's windy or not. So it's windy in the evenings. I've never heard that before. It's always windy, especially in the evenings here. Depends. Some winters are bitter cold, like terms of single digits or temps. Some winters have lots of snow and temps in 20s and 30s. Dang. You up in the mountains, or is that just Utah weather in general? Hoping for that a snowy one. We are at the edge of the mountains and desert, so lots of dry wind. But our town's elevation is about 5,000 feet. Okay. Is it warm during the day? And sorry, getting educated. No worries. Be nice between winds. Not. The sun sits warmer. If it's cloudy, not so much. Oh, that's right. Sand doesn't hold deep in the mountains. Dirt. Cold winds off the mountains in winter for sure. And I hope you guys are enjoying this weather report. But you know what? I'm all here for it, guys. Whew. Holy no. Maybe there's a cabin with a fireplace, lots of snow. That would be fun for you. Missionaries. That might cause problems for it, which messing with them could be fun. He got extra cuddles earlier for you. So, okay, we're going to skip that. Yeah, we're going to skip that, and I'm going to go to here just because I don't want to get in any misconstruations. Wow, I can speak the English language. Hope you feel better. I hate the pain of doctor visits. It's just the mix of that and the flu shot, so we will see. It may make tomorrow a very interesting visit, but we'll do. Thanks, Nicholas. I might go in. This headache is being a serious pain with the eye strain. Well, then either turn it off and back out, or turn your brightness way down. That might help. Evening all. Hey, Kitty. Understandable, Nichols. Okay, cool. Well, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to talk about because it is Black Friday, and I kind of scrambled my my intended show on deals that I was looking for, but we got some of it out. I'd love to hear if any of you found any good deals on training equipment, because there are some on Amazon that I saw, and I do heartily recommend you both consider checking for polypropylene trainers on Amazon and the basic trainers on PHA. That's Purple Heart Armory, www.woodenswords.com. If you use the link in the description, I get a bit of a kickback. I get like 2% if you buy anything. So it would be really appreciated because I would love that, and I'd gladly take it in-store credit if they wanted to give it to me. Beyond that, I wanted to stop, and I was going, what do I want to talk about? And I realized it's also been Thanksgiving. And I want to talk about how thankful I am to be able to have an organization like the Historical Fencing Guild, which allows people to come together and learn what they love and be able to move forward and grow both in health and in strength, as well as a community. My Patreon people are the most amazing giving people on the planet, because without them, I couldn't do anything that I do financially. So I couldn't get gear to review. I couldn't get a lot of the good I do that I don't talk about, because I don't believe that when you do certain types of good, you should talk about it, because that shouldn't be why you're doing that. It means occasionally things just appear on people's doorsteps that might need them, or training manuals. Weird things happen. Right now, we're just so tight with everything that happened in additional medical stuff that I've been having to be kind of careful. I'm expecting good stuff to come in the near future. And Kitty says, I'm thankful for the guild too. If not for you, I would be streaming right now. I'm so glad I didn't know you were streaming. Oh, wait. Okay. I didn't know that you were. I'm at Thesis. Would it be streaming right now? Brain had a hiccup. Yeah. That's what I do. That is my joy, my purpose, at least with the Fencing Guild, is to help people find their fight and find a way to manifest it. And with Thesis, he's getting to take his love of Chinese culture, his love of Chinese martial arts, and broadcast that and share it. And it takes a tremendous amount of courage to do this, but it is an opportunity to do good and to elevate yourselves. One thing I tell all the martial artists that I know. Once you have invested yourself in the art and invested the art in yourself, and those are two different things, start taking notes, especially if you are teaching. Okay? If you are teaching, get a steno pad. God, I don't know if people have even seen a steno pad, like a legal pad or a notebook, and write these things down. I write down your methodology. Write down what you have learned from the masters. So a lot of times I would have notes, on Fiore or on Fabris or on Silver as I was reading through, and what I took from them and what I discarded. And by recording that and recording my training techniques and recording my observations of students, of opponents, I was able to eventually, and it took me years. It took me 15 years to write The Simple Sword. But I was able to put that stuff together and come up with a process and a system that can help people from my perspective. It's time for sorry, I said it's time for, and the Munzie song started playing in my head, but it's time for fetch. No, it's time when you've reached that point where you're regularly teaching, where it's much like when you are getting ready to graduate from college. There's usually some kind of special project. We had capstone papers. We had, a dissertation. As a martial artist and as an instructor, I truly feel it is necessary for you to codify your system and your views. And part of it is when you go through the process of doing this, you get to analyze your own thinking, your own teaching, your own experiences, what worked and what didn't. And this is a very powerful thing. This is something I've been encouraging several people to do. And Thesis has said that it's true without the HFG, I wouldn't be. I saw certain questions pop up in the chat that Nick couldn't answer, but I could, and I figured that people would want to hear these things. Write them up. Thesis, you orbit, and I'm not trying to shout out Thesis. I used to give this flack to Sword Sage all the time. And I really need to bug him some more about it because he's long past due. You talk about the people you've trained, the methodologies, what's worked, what hasn't. You have an English-speaking acquisition of information. Write all that down. It will take, I'm not saying get it done today. I'm not saying get your thing done this week, this month, this year. That's not part of it. But if you're going to be an instructor, if Thesis is going to be Shifu, then Thesis needs to write the scrolls of Thesis. Or Lee, whatever, because his name usually changes. Literally, Lee something's Bladed Thesis would be a book title waiting to happen. And Foxy and Kitty, I ask you, bother him about this. Because one, it may make him some small income, and that's always good. But more importantly, it will make him into it will be the gate to another level in what he's doing. And it's scary because you'll realize that some people will disagree with you. You may have to defend on that. I'm certain, funnily enough, I have enough notes. I'm certain you do. On Google Docs that could eventually become a book. Go through them. We are in winter, okay? And winter for martial artists, especially those of us of age and injury, is a time of contemplation and endurance. To borrow from many a kung fu movie I watched growing up, many of us old masters have internal injuries. And with that dogging our physical capacity, it is important to engage what we can, which is our mental capacities. So as the snow is falling down and the fire is crackling and you are staying warm with your dog at your feet and your wife at your side, or vice versa, I don't judge, work on that thesis. I think that would be a great thing for you to do. Because I think you're at the time where you need to do it. And you happen to be in a group that will help you do it. And they can agree or they can be with me or be wrong. No judgment. Well, Johnny, you are our aspiring vampire overlord. And when you get the levels enough to actually do what you to be in the kind of position you feel you should, I sincerely hope you can, good sir. It is. Oh, can I bug him about something? Permission to pester? Abso-fragging-lutely. Absolutely. Pester thesis. Bother him. Be a loving nuisance. The term brat exists for many a reason. And if you can nudge uns cajole thesis into writing and publishing his books on his methodologies, and I say books because you can stop at one, but who does? It will cause a feedback. It will give it will lend credence to his videos. His videos will lend credence to his books. Both will lend credence to the community around what he does. Because the Historical Fencing Guild was and shall ever be, as long as I have something to say, meant to be a bridging organization even more than its sole organizational self. What do I mean by that? Thank you for following me, Yemi Gim 23. And yes, do plot with Foxy to bug him. My wife bugs me, and if she doesn't bug me about it, Trelena bugs me about, you need to work on your next project when I need to, and to take care of myself and all those things that go against the core of my being. But, and yes, please don't forget to like and stuff. Writing that up, editing it, proofreading it, having copies go to people will do more than help you. For example, the Simple Sword has sold in, I want to say, 30 some odd countries, and that's not counting the copies that have been bootlegged by the Russians and the Chinese and distributed throughout Southeast Asia and Northern Asia. Now, I could complain about the financial loss that might represent, but my goal here was never to make the money. My goal is to help people who might not learn to sword fight, and to make a to make a way that people can find their fight. So, while not financially perhaps balanced in remuneration, the mission carries on. The work is more important than the worker. And the beautiful thing is, much like if you guys go farther back in the videos, you will see videos of me sparring. You'll see videos of me actively, physically teaching people who had the courage to be on camera. Many people didn't, and that means a lot of opportunity was lost. But that's there as long as this channel is up, independent of me. I have had some recent reminders of both how quickly the tides of affection can change in people and the heartbreak that can bring, and frankly, medical reminders of my own mortality and a few other things. I'm at the age where doctor's visits are interesting. And, you spend a lot of time going through the hoops to show enough effort to convince the insurance companies to let you get tests you need. So my physical capabilities are not what they once were. My physical capabilities are such that much of what I do would not be advisable. Not much of what I used to do would not be advisable. And I'm aware of this. And I have been making adaptations my whole career. I'll keep doing it. Every day I drill. The day I stop is the day I stop being a swordsman. The day I give up putting pen to paper is the day my art stops. But it goes on in what's preserved. My instruction is preserved in my students. My ideas are preserved in their minds and hearts and in my books. Thesis, you are passionate about what you do. And it's getting time, my friend. So, to the commentary that's continuing, can you bring Trey and the others? Yes, please. Do not hesitate to make Thesis's life a living annoyance in hopes of better serving the future. Sorry, Thesis, I love you, brother, but that's what kind of happened to me in many ways. And I want you to have that next level while you're healthy enough to enjoy it. Because it can get real tiring having to come in and be a statistical anomaly. And there's only so many times anybody can say to the doctors, no, screw you. Many times, I honestly wish I were the cryptid that so many people claim me to be. However, such are not my physical gifts. But I know, and one of the few reasons I can sleep at night, and I mean this, is that I know my instruction has borne fruit. It has helped people, not just in making more swordsmen and women, and helping small groups improve, helping young commanders get new strategies, but sorry guys, give me a second. Sorry, it's a bad one. Okay, but I've built something that's self-sustaining. I can look in Trelena's eyes and I can know that my ideas of defense, not offense, and my approach to preparation and perseverance are going to go through. Not just how to parry a blade from yourself. I'll tell you a secret, guys. For all the secret arts and funky movements, the vast majority of hand-to-hand combat is short, it is brutal, and it is ugly. If I were simply writing and studying violence, it would not be what I do today. This is why I study the art of defense in the physical and the art of war in the mental. And that's why I encourage you guys. Because if it is purely in the physical, if it is just the physical, the larger and the stronger or the faster will always win. That's basically the law of the jungle. The more powerful will prey on the weak. And I, like Dee's noble ancestor, never believed that. At least for where we're talking. Swordsmanship is different than marksmanship. And they teach different things. There is no defense in marksmanship. There is only offense. I cannot block a shot with a crossbow bolt. Maybe some people could. Maybe they're fast enough, whatever. I'm not. At one point, I could hit just about anything I could see. If I could see it, I could hit it with archery or air rifles or whatever. I don't see quite as far, quite as clearly anymore. And my hands aren't nearly as steady as they were anymore. But the ideals that those who are perhaps physically limited, those who are perhaps smaller or weaker or taller or ungainly or unappreciated, that these people have value that matters beyond the scope of simple tournament wins or, victories in schoolyard fights or endurances in more mature combat. Spilling blood does not elevate someone. Knowing how to avoid it does. I can't remember who said it, but somebody much wiser than me. They said, every law written is a failure of society. Meaning we could not solve a problem without writing a law. Every violent act exchanged is a failure of communication. It is a failure of humanity, of sapientness, of sentience. And the reduction to the methodologies of violence and a world where violence is still omnipresent is a tragedy. However, it is also a reality we must endure. And I consider myself a failed pacifist. That is part of my sins. I carry that. I carry that with honesty. But to perceive a situation and understand that as a kind soul, you don't want to be engaged in it for any number of reasons, and avoiding it ahead of time is a wonder. You have prevented yourself from being injured, and you've prevented someone else from being a criminal. The more I listen to what I am hearing from people who I care about and I respect in this world, the more I understand that there is an absence of kindness, mercy, and understanding. There's an absence in this world, especially now, of humanity. And if there's going to be that, we must stay vigilant. Because when people sacrifice their own humanity to gain acquisition or power or authority or compliance, when people hurt others for no necessary reason, we all have failed. And the only hope is vigilance, awareness, and calm, practiced response. People come to the sword for a lot of reasons. And when you are coming to the sword, you need to understand why. Many, 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 many people come to the sword looking for power. the ability to take it back, the ability to regain something. Some people come for the power to take from others. Some come for safety. Some come for a way to vent the rage and fury of being an evolved animal in a madman's prison. And I've seen these people, and they become significant. There are people who have that drive to be the very best, to rise and see how far they can go. And that is admirable. I think that's why we watch the Olympics. We want to see people overcome their limitations. People transcend who they were to become who they are. It gives us hope. It puts us in awe of the human form and function. None of that is why I came to the sword. I came to the sword for control, not of the outside. I didn't know that, but I didn't come for control of the outside. I didn't come to learn to be the aggressor. I will admit, it, in part with other aspects of my personal, physical, mental, and spiritual training, was and continues to be built along the idea of never again. I never again want to be the kind of victim I was. I never again want to be powerless. Because it is one thing to be weighed, measured, and found lacking. It is quite another to be irrelevant, to be non-existent, to have no chance, no ability, nothing to stop. It is the difference between being peaceful and being harmless. I came to the sword to be peaceful. Because when I first came to the sword, I wasn't. I was a very tired, very tattered soul. And I was angry. The anger of impotence against the darkness, the anger of having endured humiliation and physical agonies and betrayals, and the world seeming to do its very best to unmake you. I carried with me a fury for all the softness and gentleness that I wanted to be. I carried the shadow in me. And I was given two potential paths. And one, if I walked it, it would allow me the catharsis I longed for, or I thought I longed for. And one promised me nothing. It promised me no glory. It promised me no retinue. It promised me no wealth, no power. But it did say, you will control your beast, not the other way around. And in many ways, that was promising me salvation at the time I did not think possible. I wanted to learn to control it and begin it and be something different. We straddle a line as humans between the sacred and the profane. And as much as I would love to be able to forego the aspects of me that are base and profane, I wouldn't be me. Such levels of enlightenment are beyond my purpose. But I did study the sword. And I studied control and breathing and accuracy and assessment. And I learned to imitate and overcome people I should not be able to. Within limits. I have this knack for coming in second in tournaments. Largely because I wasn't willing to put myself in the place of treating it like it was real. Because for me, it never could be. So I could never push myself there. And I came upon a day, fairly early on, where I had the opportunity to play what you guys call boffers. Your boffers. With the heavies and the lights. And on that day, I got out. I got out of my control. I had a flashback. And I was suddenly monstrously effective. And I found two things happened. Several people very much wanted me to become a heavy fighter. And I realized I cannot. Because I can't go into that mentality without sacrificing my awareness, my actuality. So I learned to control it. And because of that unique mix, I find myself able to deal with the people who have had their very selves taken from them by situation, by force, by illness, the things that make a person who and what they are gone to be rendered useful or entertaining. And being useful is something I find very important. But not in that way. And I've had the privilege of helping people who've endured trauma and from the trauma had that power taken away, gain a part of it back and become more than they were. I've had the pleasure of watching people grow and become. And I realized that that is part of my calling, my gig. That service is part of my meanness. But I also have worked with people who came with tremendous capacities that have been instilled in them, trained and honed with experiences I'd never wish to endure nor encounter, who needed to learn when the beast that was put there was getting loose and how to contain it and harness it. And how to domesticate one's demons. And I found I can work with them too. There is another book I am slowly working on at the pace, perhaps, of the Simple Sword. It's coming from different angles, and it's more philosophical than manual. It will come when it's come. But I could not pen it had I not penned The Simple Sword. I couldn't teach many of my students had they not had access to the book. And every so often, someone from a part of the world I've never even heard of will find me digitally, and they'll reach out. And they'll say, Nick, I read your book, and we're sword fighting, and we're doing this, and we're doing that. And it's made it better. That is the basis of what I've been doing for 20 years now. And I've been doing it both in spite of my physical limitations and those of my students, and because of my physical limitations and those of my students. Because if you are healthy, if you are of the right proportions, it is very easy to find physical education. It's hi, Black RG. Nice to meet you. And you're not the first person who's come on my show thinking it was going to be construction. Maybe some April Fool's Day I'll do a video on actual fencing and, put up a fence around my list field or something. But thank you. Now, why am I going so deep tonight into the my speech impediment's getting me again, philosophy of a mad exiled sword master? Because I see the potential with time and application and simple numbers. Time behind, in front of the keyboard and in front of students, where Thesis can walk roads like this. But he has to pay the price of admission. he has to sit and write down his thoughts. Because one day I won't be here anymore. One day it's very likely that I will lose the mobility that I have, and I will eventually get into the wheelchair that they've been saying I'm going to get into for the last 20 years. No one can pull off the miracles forever. And hearing that and knowing that, one makes preparations. Because I have learned, and I pursue being worthy of the idea that wisdom is planting seeds to a tree that you'll never be able to sit in the shade of. You'll never be able to eat the fruit from. And that's the truth. Sorry if this one came off a bit heavy, guys. But I have a lot that I'm thankful for. And part of... Oh, yes, I've worked with people in wheelchairs. Rest assured, I won't stop training. Now, I'm not one to settle easily or go quiet. But, and I'm not there yet. I might have one or two tricks still up my sleeve. God willing, and the creek don't rise. And yes, we caught the reference. But there are a couple people who need to write some books in my world. And I intend on bugging them. Thesis is one of them. Trelena has several books she needs to write. Joe has a couple too. Few others. Both fiction and non. But especially those who are doing what we do, who are establishing and analyzing the old arts and turning them into something else. We have the obligation to write down and contain and preserve these ideas so that they can be found and wielded by those who may not yet walk the earth. And that's a wonder to behold. It's a wonder that perhaps in the future they might be thankful for. And while gratitude isn't why I do it, it's kind of nice once in a while. So, guys, we had a philosophical one tonight. We talked about some things that I feel needed talking about. Let's see. Assuming nothing goes weird, I think I will take next week as an Ask Me Anything. So you guys can prepare your questions. It's been a while since I've done one of those. I will provide answers. They may not be the answers you want. And please don't be that person who's like, well, what's your social security number? My social security number is my identification number given to me by the government. No, what are the numbers in it? They are digits listed from. Yeah, no, don't be that guy. It's been tried before. But thank you, Foxy. There was a wonderful set of conversations going on in the chat. Thesis made some great points. I do hope you stop and read the chat. I just was in a place where the words were flowing. And if they're flowing that strongly, I think someone now or later needs to hear them. So I put them out there. I hope they were of service to you guys. I hope that you're certainly, Kitty, bring anyone in you want, especially in the chat. Because I'd love to see you write a book too, Kitty. You are a very fascinating person. And I'm sure you could. But with that, guys, I'm going to say thank you all for your participation. Huge thanks to my Patreon members for being patient. They constantly insist that instead of me doing exclusives for them, I do things for you guys, for everybody. So they are some of the most wonderful people on the planet. Beyond that, keep writing, keep drawing, keep wrong, sorry, wrong log off, wrong outro, guys. Sorry. Keep your guard up. Do your drills. Be kind to each other. Be kind to yourselves and each other. And as always, thank you for supporting your local swordmaster. Guys, I will see you next week, next Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern, whatever that is your time. Hi, Dave. And I will be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. I host Nevermind the Furthermore, which is an author production show. And you can find me on my other channel, the Nicholas Tucker channel, where I do a myriad of things: live streams, art streams, Nerf gun reviews. It's all over the place. If you go way back, you'll find stop motion. But keep up the good work, guys. Thank you for being incredible. And go to your fridge, get some leftovers. Have a good time. I'll see you soon. Toodles, folks.